This regular meeting of the Madison City Council is called to order on this Monday, the 12th of November in council chambers. Let the record show all council members are present. Welcome and thanks for being here tonight. We ask you to sit yourself on the silent mode. And reminder the visitors, please sign in. And if you wish to speak on the visitor's remarks, please fill out the form found in the back. State your name and address at the podium, as we must document all meeting business. And remarks limited to 3 minutes. Tonight's invocation led by Pastor Matt Vaughn and followed by the pledges.
Look at all these smiling faces. Wonderful. That's the way it should be. That's the way it should be. Well, we got a lot to be thankful for, folks. Got a lot to be thankful for in our fine city and the leadership we have as well. Let's pray. Wall Street Journal, we thank you for the recent change we are noticing in our country and cities. As the columnist Peggy Noonan writes, America, after its long journey through the 2010s and 20s, is becoming more conservative again. Hallelujah. News indicates that our nation has not devolved from our Judeo-Christian moral foundations, as many of us feared. With that exception, God, however, each was frustrated that these same believers did not then become more involved in the communities and governments their leaders were elected to serve. Ronald Reagan famously warned us in his inaugural address as the governor of California, freedom is a fragile thing, and it's never more than one generation away from extinction. Our nation and world is difficult to motivate people to be more moral than they already are. The battle has belonged to you, O God, in the faithful lifting up their prayers. We continue to pray for God to be renewed in our nation, blessing and protecting each of our leaders and residents. Thank you, O God, for your never-ending provision for all of us. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On my Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible. Marks of visitors, first we have Dia Copeland.
Dia Copeland, 1000 Bryant Street, Navasota, Texas. Founded in Navasota, Texas. Gentlemen, I want to address the Navasota Center landscaping. 3 years ago, I asked the city about the unsightly flower beds, and I volunteered to help. After asking for over a year, city staff and master gardeners finally removed the mess. Sadly, sprinkler and roof drainage issues to be repaired by the city halted the progress. Goals for those flower beds: spotlight the building's architecture, create low maintenance and water-wise plans, keep the cost low. The plans and cost estimates were presented to Jose, Ryan, Tiffany, and Anna. All were enthusiastic about the plan. Then nothing happened. We never heard anything from the city. While awaiting approval, I purchased 2 trees using my money. I planted them. I watered them through the 2023 drought. Finally, I just gave up and quit asking them when we could finish the project. In 2024, Master Gardeners offered our expertise, labor, and monies to create a demonstration garden between the pool and the center. Goal: teach kids and adults how to grow sustainable food. Never heard back from the city. The city asked us to assist with City Hall and the statues. Countless volunteer hours poured into the planning. We used our wholesale accounts to save the city thousands of dollars. Recently, we were asked to help with the cemetery. We are excited and ready to do so, but the project's not moved forward. I personally have been asked by city staff how to trim shrubs, trees, what plants to use, what to do in the platter boxes, how to schedule the watering, and many more things. Recently, I planned, ordered, and replaced the trees for downtown City Hall and the cemetery. 2 months ago, I assisted code enforcement with a citizen needing help. 2 weeks ago, Keep Navasota Beautiful asked to partner with the Master Gardeners. Last week, they needed a particular plant and needed donors to supply it. You know, I'm really proud to be asked for my expertise. I really am, and I gladly give it. We are volunteers, even using our own funds. We love working with Michael, Jesus, Jose, Tiffany, and Anna. But what we need from the city, we have never gotten. And that is a thank you. Not one time. Not a pat on the back, not a letter of appreciation, not even a bottle of water out there in the heat. Nothing. Has city leadership even walked around to see what we've done? I don't know. So, despite hundreds of volunteer hours without a simple thank you, I'm going to thank you for this 3 minutes to tell you the rest of the real story about the Navasota City landscaping and volunteering for the city of Navasota. Thank you.
James Hardiman.
James Hardiman. Some folks call me Sparky. That's my nickname. Picked it up many years ago. 15400 McCrea Road. We live in Plantersville, but we spend an enormous amount of time in the city of Navasota. Current president of the Grimes County Master Gardeners, along with Deal. We're all part of that organization. We are a nonprofit extension of Texas A&M through the AgriLife. We're under the oversight of our county agent. We're also under the oversight of Dr. Jayla Fry of Texas A&M University. We have about 35 people active in our group. So why am I here? I'm here to thank you, to inform you, and to request of you. Since August 21, we, Grimes County Master Gardeners, have enjoyed the use of the Navasota Center. It really has served us well. We hold our monthly meetings there, which is the second Tuesday of every month, 9 to 11 or so. We usually run a little over. And then over the past 3 years, we've given a training course to, I would say, approximately 36 people, training them in horticulture and how to become a master gardener and to support the communities in which they live. All of the locations we've used over the years, that center is the best for us. So I want to first say thank you to the city leadership for the use of that center over the last 3 years, actually starting in August of 21. I want to specifically thank Tiffany and Anna because they've supported us, helped us as we've spent time in that center. Anna has really been a joy to work with. But we know there's no free lunch. And so knowing that, we've served this community by numerous presentations of horticulture in locations such as senior living communities. We've done work with Brewery Elementary. We spend some time at Martha's Bloomers. We don't charge for that, but many people come in and get taught horticulture. We've provided guidance and physical labor, and we do the physical labor. We've all left very sweaty and very dirty on all of these projects you see that's going around the city. For instance, the Mance Lipscomb statue, City Hall, you'll see the paintings around there. Brookshire Brothers, and then in the creek by Brookshire Brothers. And of course, we've done some work at the Navasota Center, much more yet to be done. We've allowed the city to use our wholesale discounts. Dia has mentioned that earlier. All of this was at our expense and time. We have not received 1 cent from anyone for any of these activities that we've done. Some folks believe that we get $250 or so from people. We hold a class once a year. Anyone who comes in, it costs them $220, of which we spend that $220 in the educational process for them. The book alone is $100. They get a t-shirt, they get some training materials, a field trip to some local area where they can learn. So we make no profit off of any of this. All of our profit is made by some simple little bake sales that we do, and of course we have a very small budget. We also charge $25 a year for dues, each member. So I wanted to inform you who we are and now a request. We would like to continue to use the Navasota Center in the same manner in which we have done in the past. We can't afford to pay for the use of it. We just simply don't have the funds to do so. So we'd be forced to go outside of the Navasota Center to hold our classes. We can do that, but this is the premier facility for us to use. We want to maintain the same agreement we have had with the city, where we provide help, support for the city, and in reciprocity, we get to use the center. That's pretty much all I have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. County comments?
My comments are in reference to the rules and regulations, section 6H, prohibiting the use of city facilities for political activities or events. And my first question is, does this mean the Navasota Center will no longer be used for voting? Other than perhaps the Navasota High School Gymnasium, I know of no other facility in the city limits capable of handling our elections. But I also have a problem with the proposed rule because the Navasota Center, the parks, and the buildings belong to the citizens of Navasota, irrespective of political affiliation. So my second question is, what's driving this? As long as everyone is being charged the fee appropriate to the event and they follow the rules, why does it matter that it's a political event? In October, Grimes County Republican women paid to hold an event at the Navasota Center and supported local businesses with their refreshment purchases. As a Republican and taxpayer, I have no problem with Democrat women having an event there as long as they are subject to the same fees and rules that the Republican women were. Also, does this mean that no candidate forums can be held in the city council chambers? Just as with the election scenario, there are very few venues in the city limits suitable for these types of events. But by prohibiting the rental of taxpayer-funded city facilities for political events, it feels like the city is trying to stifle all political activity within the city limits. And so I have to ask, what's next? And where does it end? Will prayer be banned from the city council meetings? Will this be the last Christmas tree or the last Christmas event on City Hall grounds? And so I gotta say it again. The Navasota Center and the city facilities belong to the citizens who pay for their upkeep, and I find this rule limiting access to be very disturbing.
Item 4 is the staff report. We'll start with the proclamation for the Tree of Angels. Proclamation of the City of Navasota Tree of Angels. Whereas when crimes occur, society must protect not only the rights of the accused, but also the rights of the victim. And recognizing that the holiday season is a difficult time for victims and their families, the Tree of Angels has become a memorable tradition observed in Grimes County to recognize that the holiday season is a difficult time for victims and their families. The event honors surviving victims of violent crime and victims' families by allowing loved ones to bring an angel to place on a special Christmas tree. All of Grimes County recognizes the important work of all who commit themselves to assist crime victims and their loved ones. Traditions like Tree of Angels reflect the kind and compassionate spirit of the holiday season and encourage us all to play a role in building a safer, more just community. Now therefore, I, Bert Miller, Mayor of the City of Navasota, do hereby proclaim the month of December 2024 as Tree of Angels Month, and urge citizens of Grimes County to participate by placing an angel ornament on the tree located in the lobby of the Navasota Municipal Building or on the tree located in the lobby of the Grimes County Justice Center to remember and pay tribute to those whose lives have been touched by violence. Dated this 12th day of November.
It's time to sign.
Yeah, order.
One more. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you so much.
Mayor and Council, the next item on the staff report is discuss about canceling the November 25th council meeting. In the past, the second council meeting has generally fell on the week of Thanksgiving, and past practice has been to cancel that meeting. Staff does not feel like there are anything pressing that we need to have a meeting that week, and so was requesting council to cancel that meeting unless there's council wants to have some type of meeting that week. Seeing none, we will move forward with canceling that meeting.
No need to have one. No need to.
Right. And Mayor and Council, John McKay just returned from baby duty, so his daughter is doing well, he's doing great. And so we don't have a CIP update today to get the ground running, and so he's got a lot on his plate, so I didn't put on it for anything for an update because he's been out for 3 weeks.
All right, any reports from council on boards and commissions? Let's see.
Mayor, while you're looking at that, I've got two staff members who want to come up and give us some updates on a couple of items.
Yeah.
First, let's get Mike. Mike, you want to come up and give your update real quick? Mike's got an update on our cameras.
Mike Myers, Chief Police. Just update on the cameras from the budget, Motorola cameras. Actually, one was installed today. These aren't off-the-shelf type cameras you just buy and install. Motorola has to get them built. It's a dome one, it's a pan, zoom, tilt. So today, Only One Rentals loaned us a lift. We installed it at the fire department, so now it was enough to go above the Carver building, so it can face right there on the railroad tracks on Business 6. And then next is they're installing a server in our server room, and we have the third computer for our dispatch consoles, which will be put there. And a TV that was seized on a drug deal, we're installing that this week in dispatch, so it'll be live fairly soon, but the first one's here. The next ones, we're working with TechStop, but we're waiting for those cameras to arrive still.
Thank you, Mayor. And Mayor, next I'm going to have Matt Julian come up and give us an update on our E. coli press release that we pushed out late Friday. So.
There is no E. coli happening there. Just a quick recap of what we've done before the public notice, what we did after, and where we stand today. On Monday, November 4th, we took our routine field samples in the distribution system. We took 4 of them, and then we took them on Monday and lab people on Tuesday. They ran the test on Tuesday and called us Wednesday night saying that one of those samples had a positive vaccine sample, which is not a violation, it's not a, panic, it's just you have to resample. So we went out on Thursday, we resampled our distribution system, not just that place, but 2 other places in the area, and we also sampled all of the wells that we have at the same time. All the samples in the field came back good, which is good for us. Unfortunately, 2 of our wells tested positive for E. coli, which I'm pretty sure is not the water, it was the sampling event. Because if you remember on Wednesday, it was nice and cool, it was a good day. Thursday was hot and humid in the morning. And unfortunately, we had 24 hours to get the samples done and take them to the lab once we get the positive sample, so we had to do it on Thursday. So we got the call Friday morning saying that our well samples were bad, which requires a public notice to our customers, let them know that it was found. The TCQ gives us 120 days to get that well back in compliance and get it back in service. Actually, if we don't have to take the well out of service, but we chose to until we can get the sample done. So Friday morning we came back in, we disinfected the wells, we pulled new samples, we sent them to We actually took them to our lab. And then on Monday, it was a holiday, but I got kind of preliminary results saying that the wells were good. I got the official results this morning when I let Ms. Raymond know that everything's good and our wells are back in service. So we didn't have any problems with our backup wells over the weekend. We did okay.
And I think it's important to know, which we did in the press release, but the wells send the water to
The treatment plant. So the water that comes out of the wells is not treated, which it's not unsafe to drink, but we're not allowed to serve it to the customers until we treat it. So all of our raw water comes from the wells, goes straight to the plant where it does get disinfected with chlorine, which kills any bacteria that is in the water. So the water the entire time has been safe to drink. So all the paperwork has been sent to TCQ today, and the whole matter has been resolved. So we're back where we need to be.
Thank you. Thank you. That's all good? Okay. All right, just a couple things coming up. The Rattlers have made the District playoffs, and they start this Friday in Katy versus Yates. So, like first time in 3 years that they made the playoffs, so that's really exciting. The senior activities and the youth activities continue at the Navasota Center and at the library. Again, just want to remind everybody to go to the city website for the calendar and find out all you can about that, and also now notify so that you are able to keep up with things just like this E. coli notice, that you can actually have that come straight to your phone for things like that. So be sure and register and get signed up for that. Let's see. English is a second language. Next session at Navasota Center at 6 o'clock on the 19th of November. We'll be registering then. Sip and Shop coming up. They'll be downtown. And Market at T.A. Smith is on the 7th of December. And then just down the road a bit is the next blood drive, the American Red Cross blood drive, on the 18th of December at the First United Methodist Church.
Mayor, it came to my attention right before the meeting, Bernie is celebrating his birthday today.
Birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. How's it feel to be 60?
Yeah. It's been a while since I've been sick.
Happy birthday, Bernie.
We need Joe in here to sing. She left you early. She always sings. Joe, she always sings for everybody's birthday.
Swing said they're good.
Item 5, consideration of possible action on repealing all of Division 1 of Article 1.09 Library Ordinance.
Good evening, Tiffany Byers, Community Services Director. So it seemed like this was the year to just look over policies while we were doing the facility usage policy, to really look at the library. You might as well dive in and do that one too. So in looking at other libraries around us, it really has become the practice to get away from an ordinance and have a policy manual. So essentially what this item is repealing anything to do with the library procedures there in that ordinance, so then we can establish the policy, which is the next item. And this one actually, the one that was in your packet, I apologize, includes repealing the fees, but that won't be done until later in January. We'll have that discussion about fees all at one time as well. So there should be an updated ordinance that was sent out that Susan's coming up to send out that just excludes the portion about the fees, about repealing the fees. So at this time, it's just the policies part of it.
The Mayor, Council, in Division 1 of Article 1.09, which is what this ordinance repeals. That section of the Code of Ordinances deals with the same thing: library cards, checking out materials, due dates, the fines for refusal to return those items and similar things. So it's really the same things that are dealt with in the policy are dealt with in Division 1 of Article 1.09. So if you repeal those provisions and you choose to adopt the policy, you will be dealing with those same things and more that are included in the policy. So what you're repealing is not something that won't be addressed in the policy.
So it stays out municipal court, but the
Yes, sir.
library management takes care of that
Yes, sir, that's correct.
through
Collection.
Policy enforcement.
Yes, sir, that's right.
Yeah, one of the big things is this, we will not forward any items that are related to overdue books or books that were not turned in or that type of stuff to municipal court. The idea is to forward that to a collection agency and handle it through a policy and collection agency as opposed to municipal court.
What happens to all of the folks that have already been turned over to municipal court? Do they restart under the new policy, or do they still have their pending?
Well, I haven't had been the prosecutor as well. I haven't had a case. We had one last year, or this year, but there's maybe one every 10 years that I did. It's very, very rare. Now maybe court is dealing with the cases before it gets to me, but if it gets to my level, I'll dismiss it. I think based upon the change in policy, that would be my approach. I haven't talked with the judge or court staff about it, but I think that would be a reasonable position if we're going to change the rules and how it's dealt with.
And nothing since the summer has been forwarded to municipal court. We stopped that practice as we started looking at this.
Chief, any idea how many pending warrants there might be for the library?
I don't think there would be any for that.
No,
Well,
I don't think there's anything pending, but I think there may be cases that were previously turned over that haven't been dealt with.
But it was not uncommon whenever I was entering those warrants to have several a month to enter, so I'm just curious if there's any that are out there for 10 years, 15 years, those.
Well, there's still some out there, I know, older ones.
Yeah.
And since we've implemented using the email system and really pushed the online account system, we really haven't had this many issues like we were previously, because now everybody's able to go online, they can log into their own accounts, they can see what's due, they can renew it, and that's really helped a lot. So we really haven't had many that are, I would say more than a month overdue.
So if we repeal the ordinance and adopt the policy tonight, anything that's delinquent, whatever, just goes straight to policy enforcement?
I would think so, yes.
Okay. Immediately. Right?
Yes, we would be able to get with the judge and get a list and turn that to the collection.
Got it.
Right.
That will work, yes. We can approach it that way.
They wouldn't go that way.
Stay out of the paper.
So do we have quite a bit of books that's out that have not been returned?
No, I mean, since I've been here, there really weren't very many that I've turned over to the court. Now, I don't know before me because they do stay in the court system for, I think, 7 years? Is that about right? So I wouldn't say there's a lot out there. But like I said, I don't know how many were before me. But this past year, since everything at the beginning of the year, we stopped that practice. So in the past 3 years, I would say I've maybe turned over, I don't know, maybe a dozen. So it doesn't happen that often.
I guess this question would be for the attorney. When we have an ordinance, we have more power than just a policy. Is that correct?
The ordinance is a law, it's a local law, so it is, in terms of enforcement, you can take an ordinance to municipal court for enforcement. A policy, you would not go to municipal court. Policy, the way this is being structured, it would be patrons agreeing to abide by the policy, and then if they don't return the materials, if they incur or accrue fines or charges related to the policy, say they don't return a book on time, or they never return a DVD or something like that, then per the agreement they have with the library, then, and remember, if you read the policy, they're going to be contacted multiple times before it gets to that point. 4 times, that's right. And so, it's a different method of enforcement, I would say, that contract, collection agency, if that becomes necessary, versus a municipal court and using the court to charge them criminally for an offense, a violation of the ordinance. And so that's the difference. They're both enforceable, but in different ways.
But sometimes the collection go unpaid, so what happens then?
They do. Sometimes fines go unpaid too.
But you have recourse with the fines.
You do, but there are a lot of cases, this is one of the things I think we'll look at, is cases get stale at a certain point where they become uncollectible. Cases in court get turned over to a collection agency oftentimes as well, and by the time they've gone through that process and they get to be 10 years old or older, what the court will do is we'll go through and we'll gather those cases, look at those cases, and if they're stale, then they will be purged from the system. And if there's a determination that those are uncollectible, then they will be purged, because it's a waste of resources to spend any more time trying to collect those. At some point, it just becomes an impossibility, you know.
But in the meantime, the collection agency is taking the heat.
Correct.
On stage 4 on this, it talks about 28 days, another letter to the patron. And it says, the patron may also be referred to an outside collection agency. What generates them being referred as opposed to just getting a letter?
So we would actually have to refer them to the agency that the city uses. So we have a spreadsheet already from them that if this passes through, then we would, at the end of that 4 weeks is usually how long our process takes, then we would turn the information that we have over to the collection agency at that point. So that's not to say that we still have some control over it. So if somebody contacted us and said, you know, hey, I really want to pay for this book, or this is a circumstance, we could still do things on our end to keep it from going through.
And the collection agency makes their money by collecting. You know, see, that's the character there.
And the procedure you do on the other end is, once it goes to the collection agency, then all of a sudden they realize you're doing business, and they would call out the library and say, well, I don't pay this thing, so I don't pay the collection agency fee.
I ran the numbers just now from 2009 to current. We have 98 outstanding library warrants.
15 years.
Yes, sir. Yes, I ran from 2009 when our system started, 15 years.
6 years.
There's 98.
I have a question on the use of the computers, and they require a library card for people who are not in the city.
Yes, sir.
And the question I have is, what about the cross-country biker who checks in, wants to use the facilities?
So they're allowed what we call a temporary use. So if they're just passing through for the day, we just inform them that they're allowed a courtesy use for that day. But if it's going to be something where they're on a regular basis coming in, then they would need to apply for a library card.
Okay, I don't think it's mentioned in here, I didn't see it.
Okay.
And having some kind of a procedure for the courtesy usage, temporary usage.
Jason, I just hope that we're not opening ourselves up to changing something every time someone hollers wolf on something, because we have quite a bit of ordinance here in the city, keeping your grass cut, just a number of things. If they don't do it, we send it to the municipal court. And just because I know why we're talking about this tonight is what happened in the past year, last year, just because someone hollered wolf. I just wish we wouldn't just want to be changing ordinance to policies.
Right, and part of it also is we look at who some of our abusers are, and unfortunately, quite a bit of our abusers are teenagers. And so we have a hard time issuing a warrant for a teenager for these type of cases. And so moving more to a collection process, I think is a little bit less of a burden onto somebody that might not have been taught you return what you need to, or turn back in, or be responsible for what you checked out, rather than going straight to a warrant, which could possibly have severe implications on trying to get a job, education, those type of things. And so what Tiffany did, she looked around at what other libraries are doing, and so we met with legal counsel agreed that, again, we just think this is the best way to move forward, because again, 1 week I was looking at 3 kids. They're all in high school. I think one was actually in junior high. Doing something like this through the policy is a lot better than taking a stick on an ordinance.
And this isn't an uncommon practice.
I was gonna say, you said other libraries have
Correct.
policy instead of ordinance?
Correct. They have a policy, and then they also have a procedure to turn it over to a collection agency. I think libraries are really trying to change kind of where they've been in the past to be more accessible to people. And so this is one of the moves is going from an ordinance and a heavy-handed kind of a method to collect those overdue bucks to something that's a little more easy. As far as consequences go. Credit service is a lot better than a warrant. So you're seeing this across the country as far as libraries kind of revamping and becoming less heavy-handed and just trying to put across that message that they're more accessible for everyone to come to, which this allows us to do.
So the ordinance I see was one extreme, and then the other extreme is don't do anything. If they don't turn it in, they just don't turn it in. If they have a late fee, they just have a late. They just turn it in when they want to. This is somewhere in the middle. This is what staff want to do, is try to get somewhere in the middle so that we're not being so heavy-hearted and handed on that, but we also don't want to have some responsibility on the people that are using this event.
In 15 years, when the pendulum begins to swing the other way, we'll be able to go and change it back to wherever we want it, right?
You can adopt the ordinance at that time. There's a different council in place that chooses to go a different direction. That's it.
Just wait till I retire.
Not suggesting it, but I'm assuming that's the way it had to have gotten this bad for a reason. We had to, I would assume.
On the volunteer policy, in first paragraph, it says volunteers must be at least 13 years old and must have written approval. And then paragraph 3, where it's how to become a volunteer, it says complete and return a volunteer application, including a written permission form if under the age of 13.
I apologize. I think that was a typo in our revisions. It should be if under the age of 18.
Of 18?
Yes.
Okay. That makes sense.
think we need to go ahead and act on the item about repealing the, repealing the ordinance, and then we can get into the new policy. I'll entertain a motion on item number 5.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the Division 1 of Article 109 library ordinance. Repealing.
Second. Motion by Mr. Jesser, second by Mr. Fultz to repeal all of Division 1 on Article 1.09 library ordinance. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, item carries. We'll go to item 6, which is consideration of possible action on resolution 779-24, adopting the Navasota Public Library policy. And further, do you have any more to, I think what you were talking about? Did that get answered okay? That's answered. Okay.
So the policy also lets us be a little bit more detailed. So as far as, now we can expand on our computer policy, we can expand on patron conduct, the volunteer policy, so it allows us to be a little more comprehensive.
On page 3, can you explain the text here?
Sure, so that's something new. Because we're now accredited, we qualify to participate in that program. So anyone who comes into the library can apply for a text share card. And what that does is it allows them, we issue it's an additional library card. And they can take that to any text share member library and check out materials. So they don't have to belong to that library. So they can go to Brenham, they can go to College Station, and be able to check out materials without having a library card of that specific branch or that specific location.
Okay. I don't know that it matters, but in that same number, it says the library will issue it and that it's renewed in person at the library. I assume that's Navasota Public Library, but you might want to. Correct. Everything else refers to NPL, so maybe putting that language in there for those. I'm curious, what is this? What's a STEAM kit?
So it's a science, technology, engineering, arts, and I think music is now the other math. But anyway, there are kits that patrons can check out, and they have different things related to, we have math days, we have reading readiness.
I've heard of STEM kits, but not STEAM.
So now they've added art now.
Beautiful.
And patrons will, once everything is approved and we have the final policy starting next year, each patron who comes in will sign a copy that we will keep in their file, and we will also give them a copy, so they will have a copy for their records as well.
I had a question about the overdue fees and fines. It's number 4. Number 1. Says the fine is per day per item charge. And that begins 7 days after the book is overdue, but when does the fine start? On the 7th day after the due date?
No, so the fine starts on the first day after the due date.
And I don't know that this really matters either, but number 6, letter A, would it be up to 10 items maybe checked out at one time?
Okay, yes.
And I would guess whatever format this was sent to us in is just printed weird, that it wouldn't really look like.
It's how it comes in.
That's what this is. And I did have another question, and I don't remember where it is, but there's the discussion about the Friends of the Library selling our books. Does the money that they sell, so we give them our old books to sell, and is that right?
So it's kind of a mixture. So the donations that we get in, those books that have been weeded from the shelves, we decide what we do with them. So we either give them away if they're in really good condition as prizes or different incentives throughout the year, or they're given to the Friends Group for the book sale.
And do the Friends have a policy that says that whatever money they raise from that goes back into the library?
Yes.
Okay, as opposed to going to administrative cost or something like
Correct.
that? Okay.
Mhm.
We have a selection criteria for selecting materials to go in the library. And a lot of criteria there is. And we don't have any problem with that. Significant problem with that.
Not so far, but we like to be prepared.
I've got one other question, Tiffany. On page 9, number 7, it says, if a child under the age of 13 is left unattended, suppose a child under 13 comes in the library by himself.
So if a child under 13, so exactly what that policy states underneath there. So the staff will stay with the child, try to locate whoever the parent is or the adult. If that can't be done, then staff will, phone the parent or ask the child who to call. And if they're not picked up within 15 minutes, we call the police.
No, but my question would be if a child under 13 would come in and just say, well, use the computer or read a book and sit there. Is that allowed?
If they're under 13, they need to have a parent or a guardian with them,
So-
or an adult.
So you would try to reach them?
Correct.
Okay.
Because we have had issues with this, where small children were dropped off and we didn't realize that they had no adult with them.
So the library being in that neighborhood, you don't have any kids just want to just walk in the library and just...
We do for the junior high and high school kids who are walking down the sidewalk, but typically, I've only had this happen a couple of times where it's been like elementary age children. So that's why it's 13. If they're over 13, they're welcome to come into the library, but if they're younger than that, they really need to have an adult with them. Just for our liability, we can't watch them. I've only had it, like I say, maybe once or twice, but it scared me because they were like toddler age that were there by themselves. And they were jumping off the tables in the back. Against the policy.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the resolution 779-24 adopting the public library policy.
Councilmember Harris, would that be with the noted changes? There were several changes.
Yes, with the noted changes.
All right, thank you.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Harris, second by Mr. Ford, to approve ordinance, not ordinance. Resolution 779-24 adopting the Navasota Public Library policy with changes as noted. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, item carries. Item 7, consideration of possible action on proposed parks and recreation facility use policy.
Good evening. So, in November of 2023, the former Parks and Recreation Manager was tasked with creating a facility use policy. And so that was created, a subcommittee was formed, I believe Councilwoman Peterson and Councilman Foltz were on that subcommittee at that time. So they met to look at the proposed policy. There were a lot of things that weren't quite right. That Parks and Recreation Manager left and we hired a new one. So that was one of the first things that we looked at was what do we need to do to make this policy. One, it was very, very lengthy. Nobody's going to read all that paper. I wouldn't read all that paper. So one of the things we did was, okay, let's condense it down first. Let's get just the basics. Then we started looking at cities around ours, Bryan, College Station, Brenham, Tomball, What can we do to make this look like theirs so that we know that we have everything we need? And so we did that, we put it all together, we sent it to the city manager, the assistant city manager to start reviewing, made their revisions, and then that was sent to the subcommittee that now includes Councilman Fultz and Councilman Stevens. They reviewed it, sent it back to us, we made some more revisions, and we finally got the product that's in front of you. We feel like it's comprehensive enough to explain everything, our expectations of the usage of the center, but it's not so lengthy that, you know, people are just gonna look at it and say whatever and not even read it. So this policy is important because we wanna make sure that everybody who runs the center is on the same page. We need to have a level playing field. So when we rent the center, you need to know what we expect from you. We're providing you with a location. We need you to help us out with things like making sure there's not confetti all over the floor, making sure that things are cleaned up. We've also had a lot of issues as far as scheduling the center and people thinking that, okay, I'm going to come 2 hours early to decorate for my party, but I haven't booked that. So we wanted to make sure things like that were in there. So what we have in front of you is the proposed policy. It includes, like I say, how do you make a reservation? So reservations can be made online, they can be made in person. How many days you need to do that? If somebody gets sick and you need to cancel, what do you need to do to get your deposit back? So all of that is outlined in there as well.
And this is similar to the previous item, and it's a policy.
So, Mayor, Council, a couple things I want to key off to Tiffany and Anna. They did a bang-up job getting this out perfect. I think it was what the original subcommittee asked for, and then the new subcommittee, I think it was what their expectation was. We had some comments from the new subcommittee. Those have been intertwined within those, made those changes. There were some questions. We were able to provide council members with those answers. I think they were sufficient enough to bring it to council. One of the things I want to kind of also update. So the council on page 4 of the policy, which is Rule 6, that Ms. Clements was referring to on rules and regulations related to item X. So it means program for events involving the sale, advertising, promotional products, and or political fundraisers, political advocacy, other partisan political meetings, rallies, or campaign activities, events are not allowed. So the thought behind this is not to prevent voting. So if you go up a couple more things before that, in V, it talks about groups may not consider any Navasota facility a permanent meeting place, use of for storage or use of the city facility as its known interest unless approved by the city manager with an agreement in place. We have an agreement with Grimes County to hold the elections there. We do not charge for that. So there is no fee for that, but we don't have to pay for the election.
For the election, we don't have to pay for the use of all the equipment.
Yes, yeah, off use of all the equipment. So part of that is the taxpayers, no matter which political party is there, it's supporting both to this election. When you have a political fundraiser, one party might have something there, but the other one might not. I'm fine with if the council wants to put that in there. However, you need to make sure if that's the case, that those political parties are paying the true cost of that facility, and that those costs are not being subsidized by taxpayers. And I will tell you, based on the rates that we have now for the Navasota Center, taxpayers are subsidizing the majority of all the activities at the Navasota Center. And so, as a city manager, I don't mind doing what the council wishes on policy, because that's what you're tasked with. Just want to remind you, the fees are going to come at another date. We are looking at, the subcommittee recommendation was to come back with 3 different levels for fees, one being nonprofit in the city, one for nonprofit for outside the city, so anywhere else, and then for-profit. So if you don't fall in the nonprofit, then you're a for-profit, no matter what you are. And then what do we want to do for local NISD, county, and those type of things. We're going to come back at some time for the actual fee, but tonight it's not for fees, it's just for policies. So I'll make sure you kind of understand that. Any other questions you might have on it, we'll try to answer as much as we can. Again, it's taking lots of reviews and lots of eyes over it, so we welcome any feedback that you might have on this.
On item next. Programs involving sale, advertise, promotion of products or services and/or political fundraisers, political advocacy. As long as they're renting and paying, I think we should strike that. If it's the full cost, not at the expense of the taxpayer.
Yeah.
It's a blanket policy.
Available in that manner to both,
To
whatever affiliation it would be.
Agree with you.
This might be a question for Carrie. I think one of the considerations too was political activity taking place at a voting location and whether there are any conflicts with that. So that was one thing we considered too, was whether there would be any potential concern with that.
And during election, you can't electioneer anyway.
Right.
It's not allowed by law.
Right.
So that does just mean that it's still a designated voting location.
On that
You have a comment
On the election day.
I do.
So it would be okay, it would not be considered electioneering unless the election is ongoing and you're within 100 feet, I believe is the distance. As far as opening up a facility like this for that kind of expression, political advocacy, as long as who are using the facility are paying the same rate as everybody else, it's allowed. It is within the discretion of the city council to say, we're going to open up this facility for this kind of activity and this kind of expression and this kind of organizational use, and you could include political activity. So you can do that, and it's not going to be considered an illegal use of public resources for political purposes, as long as whoever is using the facility is paying the same rate as everybody else. And so, and you don't restrict it to one party or one group or another.
But that would be, this room would be different, right?
Correct.
So how do you distinguish? This has been my confusion
Yes, sir.
a lot is, this is the facility use policy for the facilities, not the Navasota Center policy. And so it has to be worded in such a way that whatever it is that the facility is, that's what we have to think about.
Do we rent this building?
No, sir. So the
Excluded it out.
So the chamber, not the chamber, so the examiner in the chamber use it for the forum. No staff member, the only staff member that is here during that is the police chief, and the police chief is only here because his wife's here.
One other thing to remember, it's parks and recreation facility policy. So this building wouldn't be included in parks and recreation.
Well, I don't know that.
Yes, it's a parks and recreation policy, parks and recreation facilities policy. Well, it's community service department facilities, so community services is parks and library.
Not that we have to be like any other city, but City of Bryan,
They have the same restriction.
they have to say,
So lots of other.
feedback from the mayor and council up there, who's in session right now, says they don't prohibit. They don't have an item X policy.
In the Parks and Recreation policy, they do. I just sent it to Jason because that was one of the things we looked at was making sure that we included things like what other cities do, and lots of other cities
I
have the
referred
same.
to it as a city facility. I didn't talk about chamber or anything like that.
Yeah, the Parks and Recreation policies that we looked at, most of them included an item like this, so it's not uncommon.
Said it's never been an issue there.
I don't know if anybody here remembers it, but it seems to me that when the title of the ownership of the Navasota Center was passed from the school district to the city, one of the terms of it was that the Navasota Center, or the school district, would have free use of the facility when they wanted it, and they would also have precedence other than the city after the city. I don't know.
So, I have met with, school district administration, and we already had that agreement, and Tiffany was with me on that. The hair splitting of it is, if you've got some organizations that say they're school district related and they're not. And so when we have things like that that come up, we run that through the administration and say, is this a school supported organization? And they let us know that the agreement that we have with Dr. Music is they understand there's costs associated with us opening it up. And so if it's after hours on the weekends, that they are willing to pay for that cost.
So in other words, the new agreement supersedes anything they haven't at that time.
Let me correct my comment about Brian. I meant regarding political fundraisers or that, as far as sale and promotion of, I get that, but when it said political fundraisers, advocacy, or other partisan political meetings, rallies, or campaign events, that's what I was referring to.
Yeah, so their policy, city facilities shall not be used for the following. One of their bullet points is any political fundraiser, political advocacy, or other partisan political meeting or campaign activities / events. And that in available facilities. Right here. Has an attachment, so I didn't have to see the attachment. But again, it's this body, whatever your decision is, you don't have to, again, you make it Navasota. So whatever you want, just let us know that we can make those changes. We came a long way from where we were,
Well, the thing is, like with Brian, they have other facilities in Brian that people can use and rent, whereas we really don't have that many choices, so it can kind of be, real limited. So I mean, my thought is that we adjust that to like we were talking about earlier, with, just as long as the fee is equal to whichever one.
So if that's,
don't say it's not allowed, but allow it, I guess, but with fee.
right, so if you will, if you're fine with it and you make a motion, be sure to say on X to strike the political fundraisers, political advocacy, and other partisan political meetings, rallies, or campaign activities / events.
Everything after the word services.
Yes.
Everything after the word services.
Yes, sir.
One of the catch-alls is a lot of these things is, it says shall not unless approved by the city manager, so there's discretion here, it seems.
Yes, sir.
And
that was intentional for, depending on, there are circumstances we can't think of, and when it comes up.
Then it's your job to vet it.
Back when the school district gave the Navasota Center to the city, I kind of vaguely remember the intent of our forefathers was that it would be a quality of life that all citizens of the city of Navasota should be able to use, but at the same time not put burden on them to use it. Now, I call the Navasota Center part of quality of life. And I think that some stipulations that we may have on certain groups, well, not certain groups, but all groups that work on buildings, work on the grounds that belongs to the city of Navasota should be considered as in-kind. And we should have something in this policy referring back to that. Because we don't have that much to offer the citizens of Navasota. And if you've got this 65 club up that wants to meet in the building, my understanding, we have staff there from 8 to 5 now, so we don't have to pay anyone to be there because someone's already office there.
Somewhat true, but not fully true.
If that person is sick or on vacation or has a meeting or anything like that, then we still have to pay an attendant to be there.
Okay. But as on paper right now, 8 to 5, someone is there. Is that correct?
There's somebody scheduled to be here 8 to 5, right, Monday through Friday, that is correct.
So that's the way that I'm looking at it, from 8 to 5, someone is already there. So I think as the city, we need to be more friendly, especially in Navasota Center, because that's the only thing that everybody wants to use. It's the Navasota Center. It's the only thing that they can use. And I don't think that we need to try to push anybody away. I think that we need to encourage them to use it more. The mayor just read that we go on the website and see when it's used. If the city don't have an event going on that day, make it available for the people. I mean, in reality, the people paying for it. And I think that, I don't know how the rest of the council feel, but, you know, invite more to come and use our building because it belongs to the city. And so, when we're making these policies and making these suggestions, let's keep in mind that we want to be Navasota friendly. Navasota friendly. I was searching the web the other night on the web page, and I forgot what our mission station said, but it made every bit of Navasota friendly town. So let's treat all the people that we have here that makes the city turn friendly. With that being said, I need to ask you on general policies. On page 2, on the general policies, D, it said each individual, group, association is subject to a fee as adopted by city council. So the fee that's already is set right now, are we going away from that?
At some point, yes, sir.
No, but I'm talking about, what are we working on right now since the council have not said that we want to do this, or that? So what fee are we working on right now?
The one that's in the appendix of the ordinance. The fees that's already been placed been adopted already.
Okay.
And I can tell you, currently right now, staff doesn't have this, we are not going by that fee.
That you're not going?
We're not going by that fee, that's correct.
Okay, so that's why we have.
Correct, because if council wants us to go by that, that's totally opposite of what you just said. Because our leagues, they don't pay anything. The only league that's paying something, the soccer pay their fee. The baseball doesn't pay their fee. They do any kind of work at the baseball fields. The football doesn't pay. The swim team barely pays. The fees that you have in place now are not being adhered to. Earlier, you heard from the Master Gardeners that they currently meet on a monthly basis. They're not being charged for that. It's free for them they are getting services that are not being charged.
But I think that the reason that the Master Garden is here tonight, oh, and by the way, thank you for the work that you're doing for the city.
Thank you.
I think the reason that they're here tonight is because it's been proposed to them that they're gonna have to start paying.
So the amount that, for the 12-week program, council, you need, the decision is either if you want to allow them not to pay anything, and they get to, have this for 12 weeks at whatever room that they want to have, means a couple of things. It means, number one, your senior programs do not happen for 12 weeks. Number two, it means that you're going to have no programs at all happening during early voting. And so during that day, there's nothing at all that's going to happen. Yes, sir.
On the senior program, do the senior program use the entire center?
We use the Blue Bonnet Hall for them.
Okay.
They do extra exercising.
Give another room?
So
During early voting, then voting uses
Oh,
all the small
that's
groups,
what,
so-
twice a year though, so we don't want to use early
Or
voting.
if we have it rented to somebody who's paying to use the
Somebody
facility,
pays, right.
then our seniors might get the boot that day. And so we're trying in doing programming to be consistent. That's really important. That's why programs haven't worked here before, because it was just kind of willy-nilly. Today, we need to cancel you because we have somebody else coming in. So we're really trying to be sure that every day when they arrive, they know that we're there, we're open for them for senior programming. So we're trying to not cancel those days for them, because if we do, we're going to lose them, and we won't be able to build it back.
So council, you've tasked me with providing programming and more quality of life events. I've tasked community services is the reason that I put Tiffany over is to do more. And you've heard the mayor talk about all the great things we've got going on for programming. If you want to take a different direction, and when nonprofits come up and want to use a facility at no cost, we can make that a priority, but that's going against what you tasked us to do.
Once again, and if I'm wrong, correct me, somebody up here or someone in the audience. This particular group plants flowers here at the City Hall, Navasota Center, Master Lipscomb Park, and other places in town. And what I'm talking about is give them an in-kind instead of charging them. And plus, okay, wait, plus, we don't have to change our daily events to accompany them, because, once again, it's accountable. So if they want the big room and the city is using that, they can't use it. Have to get another room. So it's not like that they want to come in and make us cancel our events, because what we do for the seniors here in the city, hey, that's great. I mean, I've talked to quite a bit of people that's been over there, and they love going over there doing that special event. Thank you, Tiffany. I mean, you know, you give the older people something to do during the day. So no, don't cancel that. But we've got more than one room.
And I understand that. And just so council knows everything. So our parks and facility maintenance provide the labor for digging the holes, for helping put all the items out around City Hall. Very thankful for the master gardeners for helping with that, to provide the layout for it. But that's only a portion of it. We are providing them on a monthly basis a location to store stuff, which we don't allow any other entity to store stuff, and for them to have their meetings at no cost. So we're already giving some things to them. And on top of that, we did pay for all of I'm assuming we did use their contract for.
Yes, we use their
Yes.
wholesale.
But the city paid for all the materials.
But this is taking all of the way.
Sir?
But this is taking all of the way.
So, no, sir, it's not.
This is just the usage policy
This is just
tonight.
the usage
The
policy.
fees will come at a different time. We're evaluating all fees, because times have changed. Things have gone up. And the maintenance of that building, I have 6 AC units that are 20 years old. They are on their last leg. And if they go out, we won't be able to have programming for anybody. That's just the reality of it. So unfortunately, that building, it has been used for free for too many years by a lot of people. And when you don't have the funds to be able to put back in the building needs a lot of maintenance. There's a lot of things that need to be done, and we just can't do those if we're not charging. So we'll look at other cities, we'll come to you at a later time with the fees and what we're proposing, but tonight is just the usage policy.
Well, keep in mind that what's good for College Station or Bryan or Brenham or wherever, it's good for them. But Navasota is totally different.
But we still have to pay for the
Okay, but the intent on the forefathers getting the Navasota Center was not to make money off of. Now, I have no problem with if someone want to have a birthday party, a wedding rehearsal, or a wedding dance or something, yes, charge them. During the day, from 8 to 5, if the building is available, let the seniors use it.
Mr. Mayor, I'm confused about what the policy versus the fees. Is this where are we crossing the line with talking about it? Because it feels very fee motivated versus policy motivated, which is what we're being tasked to look at. So I'm concerned that we may be off track with what the actual discussion for this agenda item is.
I think the fee discussion, there's a nexus between the two because of, you know, how the activities at the Navasota Center need to be funded, how you keep that facility up and that sort of thing. So I think there's some room there to talk about fees. So I think you're still in line with the Open Meetings Act. But I appreciate you,
Just for clarification on the Master Gardens, is that, they say they meet monthly now, right?
Correct.
And is that during business hours or is it after hours?
Yes, so it's usually from like 8 to noon or 8 to 11.
Okay. So they're usually an attendant there during those.
Anna is there, but like I say, if she is out sick, on vacation, has a meeting, a training, anything like that, we have to pay an attendant to come in.
Right. And that costs money.
Correct.
Yeah. This other thing, this 12-week, what is this?
It's what,
Is that separate?
I think that's what Sparky was talking about earlier. It's a 12-week course, that you pay $200-something to come and be a part of. That's correct.
Okay, and that?
So with that specific item, according to the policy, it states if you're going to use it not on a one-time basis, that we require an agreement. So we staff put together an agreement. We used one of the smaller rooms based on the current fee structure is $10 per hour for that. So if Anna's not able to be available and we have to hire somebody, yes, now the city's losing money because we're not even $10 per hour, not even paying the salary for them to bring that person in. So we put that together. I think it's 6 hours a day, I think.
Well, it's
Can you come up real quick?
yes, I could.
Mayor, if you don't mind, because I don't remember the exact.
We would need the center for 9 weeks on Thursdays, roughly between, it's not roughly, it's between 9 and noon on the Thursdays during that 9-week period.
And just one room?
It was one room.
We typically have used the Blue Bonnet or we've used the LaSalle. I believe it's the two. Our preference is the LaSalle because of the acoustics, but anyway, that's neither here nor there.
So it starts the last week in January and goes through the middle, well, it goes toward the end of April. 17th of April. And so we put together an agreement similar to the agreement that you knew about what we did for the Boy Scouts. And $10, I think came up to $300 total, I think was the total amount.
For the total use of that?
Yeah, I think it's 3.
Well, no, because it would be from 9 to noon, so that would be $30 each usage time. 9 would be $270.
Yeah, $300.
$300
Okay.
is what staff was asking for in the agreement. And that was outside of not even addressing the monthly thing, a monthly meeting that they currently have.
We typically have a meeting once a month on the second Tuesday of the month. Again, 8:30, so to 11:30. We do run over a little bit sometimes.
So does it answer your question, Mayor?
Yeah, I mean, that's,
And we clean up after ourselves, so, yeah.
pretty small fee.
Yeah,
So
so,
time and you,
It's my thought that there should be some rental fee associated with anybody that's using the facility. I don't think it's even the swimming pool, it is something that we offer to our citizens, but they don't come swim for free. They have to pay something to help cover, and I don't even think it helped cover the cost, but it's at least an agreement saying, this is the amount of money that I'm spending. And this puts off the actual money play. So I think if we came to, if we set a policy that said anybody that does anything good for the city gets it for free, then I think every organization, would say, all right, we're going to get it for free because we're bringing Boy Scouts and we're not, we're doing X, Y, and Z. So I feel like we have to have some requirement for everybody that meets the majority of the citizens. And I can imagine that there are groups out there that think they're doing a wonderful service to someone and they're going to want it free. And then now we've encouraged groups to come in and, now we've got staff having to work with schedules, getting people in and out. And anyway, so to go back to the fee, I think that I would assume that any organization would expect that there would be some cost. And so if that cost to the Master Gardeners was $20 for the year or $50 for the year, would that be reasonable? And that's the discussion that we have to have on the renting side.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that I don't think that it should be free for everybody. I mean, you've got to pay whatever we set up as the fee. And surely you guys are reasonable to understand that there should be some cost, not $1,000, but if that's a reasonable amount, that would benefit both. Y'all are running y'all's business and we're running our business, and sometimes we're meeting together. And so if there's some in kind that we can do towards each other, that's great. I can't just say here's the platter and here you go. So that's my perspective on it. There's got to be some fee. And this doesn't address fees.
yeah, we'll come, that'll be brought back.
May I say something, please?
When you can please state your name and address and.
My name is Kathy Hardeman, and I've been with the Master Gardener since 2012. And to say that we just do a little kind things for the city is kind of an understatement. And to say that we don't dig the holes is not true. We are elderly. I'm 72, and I was out there in the heat because I want the city to be beautiful. And you've asked our help. So for you to say you can't give us anything for free, what if we said the same thing to you? Well, we can't do that for free. Maybe we need to get a consulting fee. But we're not saying that because we believe in the city being beautiful, and we want to help. Just kind of came as an affront to us that for years we've done things for the city, and now we have to pay to have a facility to meet in where it is to do good for the city. Thank you.
So Mayor, Council, I have no problem meeting with the organization and doing in time. That wasn't something that was discussed at all. We provided, an agreement. It wasn't, there's a time for you to negotiate and do. My understanding was there wasn't any feeling that there was any negotiation. So I didn't go any further. But I'm willing, if the Master Gardeners wanting to have some type of in-kind, we can definitely look at that moving forward.
But whatever we define that as has to be defined for every group that.
It has to have an agreement, and that's where we, in fee here, when we talk about that it's approved by city manager with an agreement in place.
Right.
And I think what you said is what we're looking at doing, trying to establish something so that we have something to stand on that's the same across the board. So with the fees and with this policy, so that we don't have this group, well, I've had this deal for 5 years, I've had this deal for 3 years, and then on it gets stuck in the middle of it, unfortunately. So this is just trying to make sure that she has something to stand on that says, no, every group, this is how it goes.
And I understand that frustration. My line of work is dealing with past promises that we have to say, wait a minute, times have changed, and this is what we've got to look at. And so we're working back and forth with each individual.
Exactly.
I had one more question that I'm finished. On the cancellation of changes, the cancellation of changes agreement must be made in writing 14 days in advance. When Jane Doe reserves the center to have a party, you're holding that particular date for that person, correct?
Correct.
And if they let you know 14 days, you can't rent it to anyone else because you have to rent it within 14 days, correct?
Correct.
So,
Well, so actually, if we had, so say she canceled 14 days prior, well, if somebody else called and wanted that date, it would be left up to the Parks and Recreation manager to see if she could get staffing to plug somebody in.
okay, well, here's where I'm going with this. If someone called up and wanted to rent the building January 25th to have a Christmas party, I mean, not a Christmas party, but December party, Christmas party, not January. And they wait 14 days and call and cancel. Well, you may have 3 or 4 other people call trying to get that date and say, okay, it's booked or whatever. So why, if we can't put in this policy, if whatever the big deposit is, if you cancel, you don't get your deposit back?
Well, so there is something, if you don't cancel 14 days in advance, then you won't get your deposit back.
But you're saying, you're
I'm
asking,
saying that you can go 3 months holding this particular date.
you're saying you cancel it all.
Right. You
If
lose
you
your
say
deposit.
cancel it all, you lose your deposit.
Because you're holding this,
I think we wouldn't have any rentals because people get sick and things happen and people die, unfortunately. And, so I don't think we would have any rentals. 14 days is pretty standard to be. And like I say, that's still what we can do too. Honest, sometimes if somebody calls and that date's booked, she'll take their name down. And so then if something like this happens, hey, we have somebody who's ready, we'll call them and say, hey, look, now the facility's available, would you like to rent it?
We try to do as best we can with customer service and to do that in case someone does cancel. Because they'll actually say, they'll tell us, hey, if you get a cancellation, you can put me on the list. I mean,
14 days seems to be the magic number. And if they don't, but if they don't pay the fees and everything else, that reservation is not solid until they pay everything, right?
Correct.
Now, after the 14 days, the procedure gets a little murkier. But it seems to be the same if they go in just subject to the availability. So if somebody comes in 10 days before the event, and the space is open and everything else, they go and they pay everything. It's the same as if they were done in 14 days. And I just don't understand why the 14 days is so sacrosanct and the procedure afterwards is the same procedure before.
So if they wanted to book less than 14 days in advance, that would have to be approved by the Parks and Recreation manager. So that way we can make sure that we have staffing because it's such a short time window.
You gotta remember, a lot of these bookings are after hours and on weekends, and we've got to plan ahead. I mean, we have hourly, part-time people that we can reach out to, but we also have exempt employees that need to adjust their schedule, that doesn't get paid for overtime, that we need to adjust their schedules to be able to be there too.
So is the difference then that before the 14 days, if the space is available and time is available, that we can't turn them down, but after 14 days, we can turn them down because we just say we don't have the facilities available?
Right, so the website won't let you book if it's shorter than that 14-day window. The website doesn't allow you to book, so that you have to go through the Parks and Recreation manager.
Okay.
So anything shorter than the 14-day window, they get a call instead of booking online.
Correct, and that's what it'll tell them. If they go online, it won't allow them to book, it'll tell them that they need to get approval through the Parks and Recreation manager.
Well, I move that we approve the policy with the following change. We discussed earlier. Item X on page 4, strike, starting with and/or through events. Where it still leaves are not allowed at the end. Correct? Is that kind of what we talked about? Okay. That's good.
You said that they are, I'm sorry, that you got a motion of it. You saying that?
It just takes out the political part. It says, it basically allows them.
Okay.
And it doesn't, yeah.
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion and a second by Mr. Fultz. Any further discussion?
A question? No, that's gonna come back later. Okay.
Okay, yeah, fees come with it. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, item carries. Item 8, consideration of possible action on ordinance 1060-24 approving the Grimes County tax roll for tax year 2024.
This agenda is to consideration possible action to adopt ordinance 1060-24 approving the Grimes tax roll for tax year 2024. It's a 10% increase from last year. Total is $3.9 million. Just approving the ordinance.
What was the increase you just said?
10.34%.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the Orange County tax roll for the tax year 2024.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Gessner, second by Mr. Fultz to approve the ordinance 1060-24, Grimes County tax roll for 2024. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, item carries. Item 9, consideration of possible action on resolution 780-24 for the submission of the 2025 grant application for the Motor Vehicle Crime Prevention Authority.
Mayor, City Council, Mike Vines, Chief of Police. 2 years ago, brought the same resolution to you all, we applied for a grant. It's actually due today at 5 o'clock, but they extended it because of our council meeting today. We just need a resolution to continue on. The grant 2 years ago helped us get the speed trailer. This grant is going to extend the Motorola cameras that we recently purchased for the trains. And this grant is going to be specifically for cameras mounted on Highway 6 for our entry and exit points of the city. So we applied for 4 cameras on this grant, and that's where we applied for. We need a resolution on that and to continue on. That's what we're going to use the funds for.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to approve resolution 780-24 for the submission of 2025 grant application for MVCPA, it's in Motor Vehicle Crime Prevention Authority.
Motion by Mr. Jester, second, I'm going to give you that one. Second by Mr. Stevens to approve resolution 780-24. Any further discussion?
I have a question for you, Chief.
Yes.
So this would actually, these would go on towers or on tall poles or?
Different ways to mount them, and that's what we're working with TxDOT and the Motorola and all that, which they may be closer to the ground. They have a lot of stipulations when you go to TxDOT right of ways. But if you go different, you can see small boxes sometimes they're on a pole, solar powered, so they don't require electricity. Same thing, they're going to pull right into the server that Motorola is providing us with the recent purchase, so they can be live, and they also take the same data. So now the speed trader, we knew it's been used a lot to count cars and speeds and stuff, so now it can be more inside the city, and these cameras will be more permanent mounted on the highways.
They like those TransStar cameras that you see down in Houston?
Yeah, I like it, but more on the ground. I mean, it depends. There are a lot of different ways to do it. We applied for like a variety of cameras. We just pick a midpoint, and we get to pick and choose after that. After we have discussions with TxDOT and Motorola.
And these are just cameras? They don't do license plate readers?
They have a lot of background in it, so that's part of like Flock and Motorola, which Motorola now owns Vigilant. And so on the back end, yes, it does have AI, where it can do a lot of useful stuff on the investigation side. So besides counting the cars and live footage, you can AI it where if we had a crime, like our trailer up there now has, I'm going to get the stats come January when I do our annual thing. We recovered a couple of persons from Silver Alerts, where we tracked them through town, stolen vehicles, and that's all it does. It doesn't actually give you personal information off of a car. It only hits us if it's stolen or it's a silver, blue, amber alert, something like that.
Awesome.
So yes, these cameras will have that capability always in the backside, which as technology's going, it's pretty much every camera that is out there can do that if you have the right programming behind it.
If they don't take the truck route, maybe we just mail them a ticket.
Now, there's some case on that.
They might have an issue.
Sorry, sir, you have a motion?
Yes, motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, item carries. Number 10, consideration of possible action amending the City of Navasota Employee Handbook by adding a subsection to Section 4, cell phones and mobile technology, SB 1893, prohibited software, that outlines prohibiting installation of TikTok or other covered application on any device owned or leased by a governmental entity, and 2, requiring the removal of TikTok and covered apps from those devices.
Mr. Mayor, Council, good evening. Lupe Rosado, Development Services Director. Just to give you a brief summary, Texas legislature passed Senate Bill 1893, which essentially just did a call out and said all governmental bodies should should not allow the use of TikTok or prohibit the use of TikTok and other applications that are under the ByteDance branch of the company. Essentially, it's a Chinese-owned company, and so there's, we've all seen it in the media. There's concerns about intellectual property theft, cybersecurity threats, and so when you have a company that's owned by that government, it's probably not a good idea to have that on governmental devices. And so when the legislator passed that bill here recently now, DPS now adopted that as hardline coded. We obviously use DPS for running license plates for Nashville Police Department and other services that they offer. And so now they basically said if you're using our services or our facilities, you have to pass this policy to prevent that risk on the network. And so this proposed amendment just really hardlines it into our personnel policy, which covers PD, City Hall, all city employees. And we'll probably also do some other web filtering things of that nature, because the problem you run into is you may ban it on your city device, but somebody could still have it on their personal device. Well, we really don't want even that traffic on the network. So there's some other things we can do technology-wise to hardline this, but this checks the box for DPS to ensure that we can continue to use their services.
One of the other things on the policy, number 3 talks about exceptions. It calls out to the local government code sections 620.004 allows the city to install this type of application for basically PD services for law enforcement.
Because they won't get hacked.
Yeah, but it.
Go where the teenagers go, and you'll need TikTok.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve amending City of Navasota Employee Handbook by adding subsection to Section 4, cell phones and mobile technology. Senate Bill 1893 prohibits software that outline one prohibiting installation of TikTok or another covered application on any device owned or leased by the governmental entity, and 2, regarding removal of TikTok and covered applications from those devices. Second.
Motion by Mr. Stevens, second by Mr. Harris to approve the amendment to the City of Navasota Employee Handbook, adding subsection to Section 4 in reference to Senate Bill 1893. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Being none, item.
Thank you.
Item 11 is the consent agenda, which consists of the minutes for October 2024, municipal court report for October 2024, and financials for the month of October 2024.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the consent agenda items for the minutes for October 24 with changes made today. The municipal court report for October 2024 and the financial report for the month of October 2024.
Second. Motion by Mr. Kessler, second by Mr. Fultz to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any kind of way that the municipal court can have a report that shows, since we've got the new traffic patrol, what that traffic patrol has been doing since it's been on staff, like writing tickets and the revenue?
So right now, I mean, everything's handwritten, but we're almost have our e-ticket writers coming. Once those come in, we can easily run it on every officer. Right now, I just do the monthly stats of the amount of traffic stops and citations. If you give me a minute, I can pull them up real fast and tell you.
No, I was just asking for Friday, but
You can see on our, because I do have it already for each month, and since the traffic officer started, we went over 500 traffic stops this past month in October, and almost 200 citations in a month.
500 traffic stops.
Just one round.
I think it was in the weekly update.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, we can definitely, so one of the things to let you know, so Evan's working on some new financial reports. Part of that financial report is going to be to include a lot of other statistical data, and that's something we actually talked about staff meeting today, including some of this topic. So we think it's important for council to see that, and we'll get that to you, make sure we add that to it as well.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, item carries. And we will, item number 12, executive session. City council shall conduct an executive session in accordance with section 551.071, Texas Government Code, consultation with attorney, consultation with legal counsel regarding city and Navasota water and sewer utility service areas, including but not limited to Public Utility Commission of Texas docket number 54806 regarding GW Water Supply Corporation and associated matters. It is
7:46.
7:46. We're reconvening at
8:22.
8:22 p.m. Item 14, consideration of possible action regarding City of Navasota water and sewer utility service areas, including but not limited to the Public Utility Commission of Texas, docket 54806, regarding GW Water Supply Corporation and associated matters.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the city manager be authorized to negotiate, approve, and execute all necessary documentation as discussed in the executive session to settle and resolve the ongoing dispute with G&W Water Supply Corporation concerning provision of water and wastewater utility services, CCN service areas, and associated issues.
Second. Motion by Mr. Stevens, second by Mr. Fultz. As the motion stated, any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, item carries. That's the item we are adjourned.